Have you ever met someone who felt absolutely electric at first, only to slowly become emotionally unavailable? Or maybe you've been the one anxiously staring at your phone, rereading a text message, wondering why they haven't replied yet. Maybe you've told yourself, I just need to be less needy, or I always fall for the wrong people, or even worse, there must be something wrong with me. What if I told you that your relationship patterns are not random, not accidental, and not proof that you're broken? What if your romantic struggles follow a predictable biological blueprint? That is the central premise of Attached, written by psychiatrist Amir Levine and psychologist Rachel Heller. This book doesn't approach love as mystery or destiny. It approaches it as science. Specifically, attachment science, the study of how our early emotional bonds shape the way we connect in adult romantic relationships. And what makes this book powerful isn't that it labels people, it's that it explains patterns. It shows why certain relationships feel intoxicating and unstable, why some people crave closeness while others pull away, why chemistry can sometimes mask incompatibility, and most importantly, it reveals that healthy love is not dramatic, confusing, or anxiety-inducing, it's secure. Over the next moment, we're going to unpack every major idea in this book. We'll explore the 3 attachment styles, the patterns they create, the traps they fall into, and the practical roadmap for building stable, fulfilling relationships. This isn't just a dating guide. It's a framework for understanding how you love and why. Let's begin at the foundation. To understand this book, you need to understand where attachment theory comes from. Attachment science began in the mid-20th century with researchers like John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, who studied how infants respond to separation and reunion with caregivers. They discovered that children tend to develop one of several attachment patterns, depending on how consistently their emotional needs are met. Some children feel secure. They trust that when they need comfort, it will be available. Others become anxious. They worry about abandonment and seek reassurance constantly. Others become avoidant. They learn to suppress their needs because emotional closeness feels unreliable or overwhelming. Levine and Heller take this research and extend it into adult romantic relationships. Their core thesis is simple but profound. The same attachment patterns that govern how children bond with caregivers continue to shape how adults bond with romantic partners. The problem the book addresses is this: most people enter relationships without understanding their attachment style. They interpret their reactions as personality quirks or flaws, rather than as part of a broader attachment system. As a result, they repeat painful cycles. What makes this book different from typical relationship advice is that it removes moral judgment. It doesn't say anxious people are clingy. It doesn't say avoidant people are heartless. It says each attachment style has predictable strengths and vulnerabilities, and compatibility depends on how these systems interact. The authors outline 3 primary adult attachment styles: secure, anxious, and avoidant. And much of the book is dedicated to understanding how these styles behave individually and in combination. By the end of this discussion, you'll not only recognize your own style, you'll understand why certain partners felt magnetic and others felt safe. And you'll begin to see that what we often call chemistry may actually be an attachment trigger. Let's start with the secure attachment style. Secure individuals are comfortable with intimacy and autonomy. They value closeness but are not overwhelmed by it. They communicate their needs clearly. They don't play games. When conflict arises, they seek resolution, rather than withdrawal or escalation. In many ways, secure attachment feels calm. And here's where something important happens. Many people who are used to anxious avoidant drama mistake calm for boring. Let's start with the secure attachment style. Secure individuals are comfortable with intimacy and autonomy. They value closeness but are not overwhelmed by it. They communicate their needs clearly. They don't play games. When conflict arises, they seek resolution rather than withdrawal or escalation. In many ways, secure attachment feels calm. And here's where something important happens. Many people who are used to anxious avoidant drama mistake calm for boring. Secure partners don't create emotional roller coasters. They don't disappear for days. They don't leave you guessing. They respond consistently. Because of that consistency, they create stability. The authors argue that secure attachment is not rare. It's actually the most common attachment style. But anxious and avoidant individuals often overlook secure partners because the intensity doesn't mimic familiar patterns. Secure people also have a regulating effect. When paired with anxious or avoidant individuals, they can sometimes buffer extreme behaviors and encourage healthier dynamics. But even secure individuals have limits. If paired with someone who consistently deactivates or escalates, they may eventually withdraw. Security isn't perfection. It's stability. Now, let's examine the anxious attachment style. Anxiously attached individuals deeply value closeness and intimacy, but they often fear that their partner does not value it as much. They are highly attuned to signs of rejection. They may seek reassurance frequently. They can feel distressed when communication is inconsistent. This doesn't mean they are irrational. It means their attachment system is highly sensitive. Levine and Heller describe the attachment system as a biological alarm. When you perceive a threat to connection, delayed texts, emotional distance, ambiguous behavior, your system activates. For anxious individuals, this activation is intense. They may engage in what the book calls protest behavior. This can include repeated texting, trying to provoke jealousy, threatening to leave, or overanalyzing interactions, not because they want drama, but because they're trying to restore closeness. Here's the crucial insight. Anxious individuals are not too needy. They simply need reassurance. And when paired with someone who provides consistent responsiveness, their anxiety decreases dramatically. The tragedy occurs when anxious individuals pair with avoidant partners. And that brings us to the third style. Avoidant attachment is characterized by discomfort with too much closeness. Avoidant individuals value independence highly. They may downplay the importance of relationships. They often feel suffocated when partners demand emotional intimacy. Levine and Heller distinguish between dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidant tendencies. But, in attached, the focus is primarily on the dismissive type, those who deactivate when intimacy increases. Avoidants may withdraw during conflict. They may minimize emotional needs, both their partners and their own. They often rationalize distance as logic or practicality. Importantly, avoidants do feel attachment, but their strategy for managing vulnerability is suppression. When closeness triggers discomfort, they deactivate their attachment system, focusing on flaws in their partner, emphasizing independence, or emotionally distancing. Now, here's where the book becomes especially illuminating. When anxious and avoidant individuals pair together, they often create what the authors call the anxious avoidant trap. The anxious partner seeks closeness. The avoidant partner pulls away. The anxious partner escalates. The avoidant partner withdraws further. Each behavior reinforces the other. The anxious partner feels rejected. The avoidant partner feels overwhelmed. Both feel misunderstood. And because the cycle includes emotional highs and lows, it can feel intense, even addictive. This dynamic explains why some relationships feel electric, but exhausting. The authors argue that many people mistake this activation for passion, but it's not passion. It's insecurity, triggering. Throughout the book, Levine and Heller include case studies that illustrate these dynamics. They describe individuals who repeatedly date emotionally unavailable partners, believing that if they just try harder, they'll finally be chosen. They describe avoidant individuals who sabotage stable relationships because they equate independence with safety. One particularly powerful concept the authors introduce is effective communication for attachment needs. Instead of suppressing needs or protesting indirectly, they advocate for clear, vulnerable communication. For example, instead of saying, "You never care about me," an anxious individual might say, "When I don't hear from you for days, I feel disconnected and anxious. Regular communication helps me feel secure. This shifts the dynamic from accusation to clarity. And for avoidant individuals, growth involves recognizing that closeness does not equal loss of identity. The book emphasizes that secure functioning can be learned. Attachment style is influential, but not destiny. Another important section explores how attachment style influences dating decisions. Avoidant individuals may prefer ambiguous situations, long-distance relationships, unavailable partners, casual dynamics, because they limit emotional demands. Anxious individuals may overlook red flags if they feel intense chemistry. Secure individuals, by contrast, evaluate compatibility based on consistent behavior. The authors encourage readers to assess partners not by intensity, but by responsiveness. Do they show up consistently? Do they value your needs? Do they communicate clearly? This reframes attraction from emotional volatility to emotional reliability. And that shift alone can transform dating outcomes. The book also addresses common myths. One myth is that needing someone is weakness. The authors argue the opposite. Humans are biologically wired for connection. Independence is valuable, but emotional interdependence is healthy. Another myth is that avoidants simply haven't met the right person. In reality, attachment patterns often persist across relationships unless consciously addressed. They also discuss the concept of the phantom ex, when avoidant individuals idealize past partners to justify emotional distance in current relationships. By recognizing these patterns, individuals can interrupt them. Awareness becomes power. As the book moves toward its conclusion, it emphasizes the benefits of secure relationships. Secure relationships are not devoid of conflict. They simply handle conflict constructively. Partners assume goodwill. They seek repair. They prioritize connection. And perhaps most importantly, secure relationships create a safe base, a psychological foundation from which individuals can explore the world confidently. Attachment security isn't just about romance. It affects career risks, creativity, mental health, and resilience. When you feel securely attached, you're not constantly scanning for abandonment. Your energy is freed for growth. Now, let's step back and examine the deeper psychological implications. At its core, attached challenges the cultural obsession with hyperindependence. It reframes emotional needs, not as weakness, but as biology. It also challenges the idea that love should be difficult. If a relationship consistently triggers anxiety and self-doubt, it may not be chemistry, it may be incompatibility. The book invites a profound shift. Instead of asking, "Why am I not enough?" ask, "Is this attachment dynamic healthy for me?" It shifts responsibility from self-blame to pattern recognition, and perhaps most transformative, it offers hope. Attachment styles are adaptable. Through secure relationships, therapy, and intentional practice, individuals can move toward greater security. Security is not a personality trait. It's a relational experience. Of course, no framework is without limitations. Attachment theory simplifies complex human behavior into categories. Real people may display traits across styles. Trauma, culture, personality, and life stage all influence relationships. Some critics argue that labeling partners as avoidant or anxious can become reductive. But the authors caution against rigid labeling. The purpose is understanding, not diagnosis. Attachment theory is a lens, not a box. Used wisely, it illuminates patterns. Used carelessly, it oversimplifies them. So what is the ultimate message of Attached? It's this. Love is not supposed to feel like constant uncertainty. You are not too much for wanting closeness. You are not cold for needing space. But compatibility depends on how those needs align. Secure love feels calm. It feels safe. It feels consistent. And if you've been conditioned to equate anxiety with passion, that calm may initially feel unfamiliar. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. It may mean healthy. So as you reflect on your own relationships, past or present. Ask yourself, when I'm with this person, does my nervous system feel settled or activated? Do I feel chosen or chasing? Do I feel trusted or tested? Because the goal isn't to eliminate need. It's to build secure connection. And when you understand your attachment style, you don't just date differently. You choose differently. You communicate differently. You heal differently. In the end, attached isn't just about relationships. It's about recognizing that the deepest human need is to feel safe with someone. And when that safety is present, love stops feeling like survival. It starts feeling like home.